All right, so let's start off. So we're going to be focusing on some hip and lower back, going back to our traditional flow style. Let's come onto our backs, and you're welcome to
Oh,
take a rolled up.
I got a
Yes.
pair of yoga balls too for Christmas.
Oh, all right. Oh, awesome. All right. So if you like, you can take a rolled up blanket or towel and place it in the small of your back. Uh, so the lumbar spine here, so your tailbone will touch the floor, and then when you add the blanket, you'll feel um, you'll feel the arch of your lower back. Again, the lumbar spine is in contact with something. Now, what this can do when you have support here is it can allow the muscles to relax and soften. So there's a natural curve here, and if we don't have a blanket, then it's not touching. It's not touching the floor. And so what we're trying to do here is just encourage those muscles to release and let go. Now, a lot of times this time of the year, we might be spending a little bit more time in a car if we're traveling or if we're visiting. And the car can be one of those places that takes its toll on the lower back. So let's just give the lower back a little love. We're going to start off with the knees bent, the feet flat on the floor. And let's do a few rounds of that diaphragmatic breath that we've been practicing, where as you breathe in, you visualize the diaphragm. It's this sort of mushroom umbrella type muscle that's going to drop down into the belly, and the belly's going to expand. And then as you exhale, that muscle travels up underneath the rib cage. And once again, as you breathe in, the diaphragm drops down into the lower belly, and you're stretching the muscles in the belly from the inside out. As you exhale, the diaphragm flies up under the ribs, and now it's stretching the muscles under the ribs. So just repeat this at your own pace. And as you watch the breath, just notice if maybe you could slow down just a little bit more, especially between the different phases of the breath. So as you transition from inhale to exhale, just let the breath linger a little bit. And we explored last week allowing the breath, the inhale to linger a little longer, just sort of challenging the body's ability to maintain the carbon dioxide in the body for just a little bit longer. And then you exhale. And we'll just practice maybe lengthening the retention of the inhale. So just like a muscle, we challenge it in order to strengthen it. We're challenging our breath just a little bit here. Now, when you're ready, you can extend the left leg long. Just take a moment and visualize all the muscles around the hip area, just extending into this extra room that's been created by lengthening the leg. And when you're ready, you can extend the right leg and same thing. Just watch, just notice. Notice how the muscles change when you give them this extra space by extending the leg. And so we talked a little bit about walking before we started the recording. So one of the muscles or the muscle group that's involved in walking are the glutes. And we've also been exploring reconnecting, reintroducing the brain and the body. So some of these more subtle muscles, we start with the visualizing in some of these, and these will be much more challenging in many ways. Isolating small muscle movements. So we begin first just by contracting the glutes, so squeezing the butt, and then exhale, soften. And just repeat this in rhythm with your breath. As you inhale, you squeeze the glutes, and then exhale, soften. Just a couple more times. Next time you exhale, just pause here. And now try just contracting the right glute. And just notice what other muscles kick in. And then soften the right glute. And now try contracting the left glute. And just notice if one was easier to isolate than the other. And then soften it. Now contract both glutes again. Try to release just the right glute. Recontract it. Try to release just the left glute. Recontract it. And then soften. Try contracting just the left glute. Soften it. Contract the right glute. Soften it. Contract both glutes. Soften the left. Contract it. Soften the right. Contract it. And then release them both. And now when you're ready, you can re-bend the knees. Let the arms come along the side, palms down. Press into the feet. Feel the muscles of the legs engage. And then allow the hips to rise. And then on your exhale, soften. We'll do a couple of flowing bridges here, where you inhale, root to rise, and then exhale, soften. You can add your arms, let your arms come along your sides. And when you lift the hips, lift the arms overhead as well. And then exhale, you soften. Yeah, just flow with your breath here. And see if you can sync up the movement in the breath. And maybe extend the inhale. And that will mean you hold the bridge for just a little bit longer. And let the breath set the pace, so the body follows the breath. All right. Next time the hips are on the ground, just pause here. Let's draw the right knee in. If you can, clasp behind the thigh rather than the shin. Extend the left leg long. Now press the back of the thigh into the hands. Press the hands into the thigh. So this right leg is more at sort of a 90-degree angle. And flex the left foot. Imagine you can stand against the wall. And then remember to breathe. Soften the right leg, so you can just let that calf, sort of, maybe it touches the hand. So we're decreasing the degree of bend in the knee, or we're increasing the degree. And then just gentle rocking side to side. Now, if you've got that blanket there, you might feel a nice massage. especially along the outside of that right hip, the quadratus lumborum. We were talking about that last week, how there is a fascial connection to the diaphragm there. And then pause. Draw the left knee up to meet the right. Hands on the knees, and let's make some circles. And again, you may use that rolled up blanket as a prop to massage out those muscles in the lower back. Reverse direction. And then pause here and let's make circles with the knees away from each other. And notice if you are doing the pelvic tilt, where you feel the hips move forward, the arch comes in the lower back, and then you feel the spine flatten. And let's reverse the circles, the direction of the circles. Just noticing how, again, the left and right side might be experiencing very different things. And you pause here. You can hug behind the left leg, lower the right foot to the floor, and then extend it long. And then bring that left leg to 90 degrees. So the shin is 90 degrees from the calf. And then you press the leg into the hands, the back of the thigh into the hands. But the hands are resisting. And then you flex the right foot like you're standing on the wall in front of you. But it's not too rigid. The breath is still flowing. Maybe notice the muscles around the face, especially along the forehead, between the eyes. Soften those muscles. And then relax the left leg. So now it's a little bit more relaxed. And then just let that left leg flow from side to side. And you might want to let your head flow. Let the jaw be relaxed. And then you pause. Then let's draw that right knee in to meet the left again. Hands are on the knees. And press the knees away, but have the hands on the knees, resisting them. So you might find that you're getting a little bit of a stretch in the lower back. And again, if you were sitting, over the last few days, this might feel kind of nice, just bringing back that space into the lower back. Release that and then slowly make your way to your side and then up to table. Find support for your knees if you're on a hard floor. Maybe taking that rolled up blanket and just flattening it off. And fingers spread wide. Let's turn the toes under and make sure you get the pinky toe. So you need to pick up your foot and specifically address the pinky toe. And just notice how that might feel across the whole arch of the foot when you really target the pinky. Now let's do a few rounds of cat and cow here. Inhale, there's that arch. And then you round. And come into your neutral spine. Take a deep breath in and then look over the left shoulder, creating a little C curve with the spine. If it feels all right, take that right hand to the outside of the left and spin your fingertips towards your feet. Press into both hands so you're not collapsing, and then breathe into the side of the body. Breathe into the right side of the body. Come back to center. Deep breath in, find the length in the spine. On your exhale, look over the right side. And again, just notice if maybe the flexibility, the range of motion is slightly different. Take that left hand to the outside. And come back to center. Toes are curled under. And then float the hips up. Keep the knees deeply bent here. Slide the shoulders down the back of the body and begin to lengthen the legs. Maybe pedaling out the legs, pressing one heel back, then the other. And if you can catch a view of your feet, just notice the alignment of the feet. There is a tendency for the heels to be closer to each other than the toes, and we want the heels to go straight back. That's why that way we're going to be getting a more thorough hamstring stretch. And then lower the knees down onto the belly, to Sphinx pose. And just take a few breaths, sort of slinking your way side to side. And let this slinking side to side kind of massage out the front of the hips. Again, we've spoken many times about how the front of the hips can get sort of stuck in a locked short position. So here we want to just create sort of a safe movement for those muscles to soften. And then allow the lower back to find its natural curve, its natural arch. And what you may notice is as you soften the front of the body, the front of the hips here, and the lower back is able to relax. That the vertebrae realign and they find their natural arch. And then pause in stillness. You're in your Sphinx pose.
Hello.
And if you like, the toes curl under and begin lifting the hips off the floor. Maybe the thighs, sorry, maybe the hips, then maybe the thighs. So you can come into this. We were talking about the plank and the side plank before. Really press if your legs are up, try really pressing into the heels so that the hamstrings are helping you. The glutes are helping you. Root into the forearms, and that's going to turn on the shoulder blades. Imagine a block between your thighs. You're spinning the thighs inward, engaging those transverse abdominal muscles. Those are the muscles that go from the front of the hip points. And then exhale, release down, all the way down, hands along the sides. You're in Sphinx pose. You're setting up for Shalabhasana. So legs are close together. So it's kind of like you have one tail here. Root down through those hip points. Press into the tops of the feet so much so that the kneecaps move away from the floor. And then on your inhale, you have palms facing down. Float the forehead off the mat. So you're not coming up very high. Hands are still on the ground. The neck is long. Now, maybe you lift the arms up if that feels okay. Now, notice the lower back. Do you still have space in between the lower vertebrae? If not, lower down. Just a couple more breaths. And then let the hands come under the forehead to make a pillow as you release down. Knees bend. And then let the legs just windshield wiper side to side. Giving the thighs a little bit of a massage. You could roll out the forehead as well. Rolling out any of the creases that come from maybe focusing a little too much. And release the legs down. Come back up into your Sphinx pose. And now let's take the left leg into a half frog. Now, if you like, you could drop on down. You can try them both on. See which one feels more compatible with your body. Now, when we were in this pose before, we talked about how this left hip is just naturally going to bump up a little bit. And this is sort of we're going to come into this in a triangle pose as well. And that's okay. You don't want to force this left hip to the ground. Just the bone on bone doesn't work. So it's going to be a little bit higher. Just hold for a few breaths here. Maybe just watching the muscles as they stretch. Inviting the muscles to soften. And then if you're up on your forearms, drop on down and then release the left leg to meet the right. Pause for a moment, just noticing any difference in the sensations you feel on one side compared to the other. And if you'd like to come back up to Sphinx as you bring the right leg into your half frog. Again, just watch the sensations in the lower back. Watch the sensations around the hips. If you're on your forearms, watch if the shoulders are creeping up towards the ears. And release down to draw the right leg next to the left. Take a moment to just notice. And when you're ready, rest your way back up through table. Stretch back either child's pose or downward dog. We just want to bring some length into the lower back. Come into your table. We'll come onto the right side. And you could use a block for your head, or you could, rest on the arm. We're just going to do a little bit of that side core. So start with the knees bent. And now see if you can bring the knees aligned with the hips. So you're going to feel, maybe a bit of a stretch on the front of the quads. Just take it to the degree that you feel comfortable with. And now if you feel comfortable, just let that left hand come along the side. So you're not using it as an anchor. So here we're working the core stabilizers to keep the hip from rolling forward or back. And if you want to challenge it a little bit more, you can reach that left arm overhead. You can straighten the legs if you like. That's going to challenge. You might feel a little bit of a wobble here. A couple more breaths. And then you're going to spin on through to the belly and then over to the other side. Again, we'll start with the arm alongside you. Knees are bent. And you can have your right hand as sort of a balance point. Maybe you slide the knees back so they're aligned with the hip. And you may, like I said, find a stretch. Maybe it's too much on the quads. So just be mindful. Just take them back as far as it feels comfortable for you. Maybe you extend the legs. Maybe you extend the arm. So we've talked before about our core muscles. They're stabilizing muscles. And that's what helps us balance. So we're just sort of creating a little balance challenge here to perhaps turn on those muscles. Turn on those stabilizing muscles. And then release all that. Once again, spin on through the belly. You're in your Sphinx pose. And then maybe lift up belly, hips, maybe the full forearm plank. Now gaze is towards the floor, but then look towards the left. Come back through center, and then look towards the right. Now just notice if the shoulder tries to follow you. So keep that left shoulder drawn back as you're looking to the right. And then release down. Pull away for Shalabhasana setup. So you're rooting through the hip bones. So the hip bones are your new feet. So root down through those hip bones like you would when you're standing, pressing through the feet. And now this time, float the legs up. You're keeping the legs together. And let's just take a moment to look at this. Look at this from the inside out. Which muscles do you feel? If you're feeling this all glutes, lower them down a little bit. See if you can recruit the hamstrings. And then you want to feel the glutes. Maybe you feel a little bit of the lower back, but not in a pinchy, tingling sort of way, in a muscle engagement. Now, if you like, you could float the head up. And just notice what happens to the lower body when you lift the head, maybe the shoulders off the mat, maybe the arms. Watch the breath. There is a tendency to hold it here. Just 2 more breaths. And then release down. You've got that pillow for the forehead, the knees bend, and they flow side to side. Release the legs down. Hands come under the shoulders. You press up through table. And you take child's pose or downward dog. You just want to find some space in that lower back. Let's meet up in table. Walk the hands back towards the knees. Roll onto the balls of the feet. Begin to straighten the legs. Hands come to the hips. Now there's still, I say straighten the legs, but there's still a slight bend. Press into the heels and then inhale, rise up. Once you get to the top, just pause here and feel the front of the body lengthening. And this breath travels up the body. So it's lifting the front of the body. It crosses over the skull. And then the shoulders, there's a downward action through the back of the body. So the shoulders draw down towards the hips drawing down towards the heels. So you've got a little bit more weight in the heels than you do in the balls of the feet. And then inhale, reach the arms up. Pause here. Flip the left palm up, grab the wrist, and then stretch to the right. Inhale back to center. Switch sides. Stretch to the left. And then inhale back to center. Release the arms. Just roll out the shoulders here. And then if you have a strap, you're going to grab your strap and just have it loosely threaded through the fingers. You could also use a long sleeve shirt. You could use your blanket. And you want to have sort of a constant sort of pull on the shoulders. And that's going to, pull on the tie. And that's going to engage the muscles of the shoulders. Your feet are wide, about shoulder width apart, and the knees are soft. Inhale, reach the arms up. As you begin to bring the arms behind you, you're going to need to extend the arms further away from each other. Allow the arms to travel down the back of the body. And then inhale, they rise up. You keep pulling on the tie. And exhale, you lower down. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, rise up. This sometimes is referred to as flossing your shoulders. And exhale, release down. You just do this with your breath. After the third one, the arms rise up, release the tie. Now you can remove, if you had a blanket or anything on the mat, you can just slide it to the side. Have your blocks set up to the front of your space. We'll begin some flowing sequences to get ready for our pigeon pose. So at the front of the space, root down through the heels. Think about the tailbone lengthening and the belly lifting. Shoulders draw down the back of the body. And then you inhale, the arms rise up, gentle back bend. Exhale, fold halfway. Press into the thighs, nice long spine. Exhale, step the left leg back for warrior 2. Straighten the front knee and then bend it. Inhale the arms up and out. 2 more times, just warming up those shoulder blades. So the wrists, forearms cross, and then they open up like a nice good morning stretch. Let's have the hands flexed. So you're sort of directing traffic. Look out over the right fingertips. And then soften the arms. Flip the palms up. Inhale, straighten the knee. Arms rise up. Spin the palms so they're facing down as you bend the knee. 2 more times. Palms up, palms down. Palms up. It's actually the whole arm that's rotating, not at the wrist. And then pause here in your warrior two. Flip the right palm up and reach up and back. Inhale through your warrior two. Keep going. Hands come to the blocks. Step the back foot up. Inhale, rise, gentle back bend. Exhale, fold halfway. Press into the legs, nice long spine. Step the right leg back for warrior two. Lengthen the front knee and then bend it. Arms rise up 3 times. Make your circles here. And see if you can get the back of the shoulder blades to move. Feel them draping down your back. Pause after the third one. Hands are flexed. Really spread the fingertips. Can you feel this stretch across the palms of your hands? And then relax the hands. Rotate the arm bones in the shoulder socket. So the palms are up to the ceiling. Straighten the knee, reach the arms up. Rotate the arms in the shoulder socket. Palms are now facing down. Yeah, just repeat this. So we're including the shoulders in this flow. We're doing that by having let's pause in our warrior two, by having the arm bones sort of move in the shoulder. We're lubricating them. We talked in the beginning that if you stop moving, it's hard to get started. So same thing about some of the individual body parts. So here, arms are moving in the shoulder socket. Now, right palm flips up and then reach up and back, reverse warrior. And keeping that front knee bent. Now inhale through warrior two. Keep going. Hands come to the block. Step the back foot up to the front. Inhale, you rise. Gentle back bend. Exhale, fold forward. Press the hands into the legs, nice long spine. On your exhale, left leg steps back, open right into your warrior two. So second time around, body knows what it's doing. It's a little warmed up. So let's come in and out of this 3 times again. We talked in the beginning about just getting some movement in the body, warming up the joints, overall full body stretch. After your third one, just pause in warrior two. And let's let the hands come to the hips. Dial the back foot in. The back foot's at 30 degrees. And that should make the knee and the hip feel a little bit better in our triangle pose. Now let's take this right hand, either above or below the knee. Sorry, the right hand. The left hand's on the hip. Now press hand into leg, leg into hand. And we're doing that to encourage the muscles to engage. A lot of times the knee can get locked. So we want to engage the muscles around the knee to protect it. Now use this left hand to roll the hip, the ribs, and the shoulder back. And then maybe you extend this top arm. And you breathe. Couple more breaths. Now soften the front knee and inhale, rise. Rebend the front knee and reverse warrior. This is a nice counter stretch after triangle pose. Inhale through warrior two. Keep going. Hands to the block. Step the back foot forward. Inhale, rise. Gentle back bend. Exhale, fold forward. Press into the legs. Nice long spine. Right leg steps back. Warrior two. Let's flow in and out. On the third one, pause in your warrior. Hands come to the hips, dial that back foot in. Just check in with the knee, make sure it feels okay here. And then the left hand comes either above or below the left knee, and you press hand into leg, leg into hand. The right hand is encouraging this right hip back, the ribs and the shoulder back. Maybe imagine you're leaning against a wall, and maybe that right arm extends up. Where's your mind right now? Like, which body part is it? Maybe let your mind sort of travel through the body, noticing which body parts are engaged. Is there discomfort somewhere that you could release with a prop, or maybe not coming so deeply into the pose? And then soften the front knee, you rise up. Rebend, flip the palm, reverse your warrior. And you'll through warrior two. Keep going. Step the back foot up to meet the front. And you'll rise, gentle back bend. Exhale, fold forward. And then press the hands on the legs. We're going to come into our sequence for pigeon. Keep pressing the hands into the legs as the legs come as the hands come further down. And then bend the knees as much as you need to for the hands to touch the ground. And we'll step back into a table pose just for a minute. So I don't know that you need to pad them. Spread the fingers. Now, either here with your chaturanga, where the elbows are going to go straight back, or you could come into a plank. So if you're in your plank, you actually glide the body forward. The shoulders are coming past the wrists. And then you bend the elbows straight back, and we'll come into a back bend. Now that could be up dog. It could be the Sphinx pose. We're going to hold it here for a little bit. So it's worth taking the time to find a back bend that feels good for you. Shoulders drape down the body. Imagine the shoulder blades. There's little magnets. And then there's opposing magnets on the hips. So the shoulders are just gravitating down towards the hips, away from the ears. Now use your core. If you can, press into the tops of the feet. Roll over the tops of the feet, come into your downward dog, and pedal it out. Now, if this is too much for the wrists, you're in table pose. And maybe you're just stretching out one leg at a time, getting the backs of the legs. Now, if you're doing traditional pigeon, the right leg lifts up. If you're going to do pigeon on your back, you could transition to that right now. We'll start with the right leg. Bend the knee, and let's open up that right hip. And then close off that hip so it's neutral. On the inhale, bring that right knee into the rib cage. Root to rise here. There's a rounding of the spine. Our core is engaged. And then lower that right knee into your pigeon. And let's take the time here. Keep that back toe turned under. And just let the weight help to ease the body into this pose. Now the breath is really important. So a nice slow breath. It's going to relax the muscles. Now, just notice how this right hip feels. Is there a lot of space underneath it? Maybe, just like in the beginning, we slid something underneath the lower back so that it wasn't suspended in air, so that the muscles can relax. So you could use a block, you could use a blanket, you could use a sweatshirt. Now, upright, if you're still upright with me, you'll find the lower back is encouraged to arch. And so if you've been doing a lot of sitting, a lot of rounding of the spine, you may want to take this variation. The restorative one, helpful to have a block or something to support the forehead so that the neck isn't rounding. So even if your head could come to the floor, it can be beneficial to have to bring the floor closer so that you're not rounding the neck. Because within the spine, it's all connected. So if you round the neck, the lower back is listening. And you may even be able to observe that if you round the neck, the lower back rounds. And we want to try to support the natural arches, the natural curves of the neck and the lower back in this pose. And this pose, we usually do a little bit longer of a hold, which can not only present a challenge for the body, but also for the mind, especially if moments of discomfort arise. So I invite you, if you find any sort of twitching or desire to move, I invite you to just watch it and observe whether or not moving is the best option. Can you breathe? Can you soften? Just approach this a little more, perhaps curiously. This is also a great exercise to steady the mind. A lot of times in challenges, the mind kind of checks out. See if you can keep your attention right here in this present moment. And it's fine if it checks out, you bring it back, it checks out, you bring it back. Just another breath. And then slowly make your way upright if you were in the supine restorative. And let's curl the left toes under. And then release back to your downward dog. Pedal out the leg. Just scan your body. Notice what does it need as a counter pose. You may find that bending the left knee and just really allowing that right hamstring and glute to find length. Maybe that helps to rebalance after that deep stretch. When you're ready, the left leg lifts. And you bend the knee, open up the hip. Now, as the left hip is going to the right, intentionally reach through that left hand and drop that left shoulder. So we've been talking about isolating the movements, especially the hip from the ribs, keeping the space in between the hip and the ribs. All right, realign the hips so they're neutral. So both hip points are facing towards the floor. Draw the left knee into the ribs. Again, this is a little bit of core work. You're allowing the spine to round. You're using the core muscles to sort of hug that left knee in, and then you release. into your half pigeon. We can keep the right toes curled under and allow the weight to just naturally lengthen the muscles. So working with gravity here. Noticing the left hip, it's probably quite different than the right in terms of whether you need padding or not. Notice how it feels upright. When you're upright, that's going to also stretch the front of the right hip more than if you choose to lower down. So just notice the variation that if you ask your body, it directs you towards. So the same thing, watch the breath, watch the sensations in the body, and then just play. Play with the subtle adjustments in the body. Curious about the sensations. Can you direct the breath to strong sensations and invite them to soften? Finish up this breath. Slowly make your way up. And then when you're ready, press back to your downward dog. And once again, just ask your body, what would be a nice counter pose? What areas need to be lengthened? What sort of sensations after that deep hip opening need to be balanced? And when you're ready, you can lower down onto your knees, coming into table. And then eventually onto your back. Have your tie handy. And if you have socks you want to put on, we'll do a few tie stretches to continue working with the hips before Shavasana. I have everything that you need for Shavasana nearby. It's a great time of the year for using blankets and extra weight to help ground. And also the warmth is kind of nice too. Once you're ready, allow the inhale to flood the front of your body. Allow the exhale to root, to ground the back of your body. And just do a few rounds of breath like that. We want to allow our body to transition from the more physical, the challenging, the doing part to the receiving, the watching, the receiving, the integration. When you're ready, bring the right leg in and allow the tie to come just in front of the heel. And press the heel into the tie. So when we press into the heel, that activates the hamstring. Shoulders are relaxed, neck is long. And you can extend that left leg. Ties in the right hand. And then allow this right leg to drop out to the right, inviting a stretch on that inner thigh. And this might feel a little bit like that triangle pose we did standing up. And now inhale back through center. Let the tie come into the left hand. And then that leg comes across the body. Now use the right hand to just sort of rest it underneath the lowest rib and just above the hip. Again, invite space there. You can even do a little sort of movement here, just sort of pressing, massaging out this area. If you like, at this point, you could extend the right arm out to the side as long as it's touching the floor, because you don't want this arm suspended in the air, putting strain on the shoulder. Now inhale back through center. Bring your right knee in, remove the tie, give it a hug. Take a few breaths here, watching the rise and fall of the breath on the right side of your torso. Intentionally relaxing the lower back. Extend the right leg long, arms can extend overhead. Nice full body stretch. And then rebend both knees. Place the feet on the floor. Let's take the tie just in front of the heel of the left foot. Extend it up towards the ceiling. Let's see if extending the right leg makes sense for you. And take a couple of breaths here. Just allow the back of that left leg to find length. And now the tie comes into the left hand. You release that left leg out to the left. Keep pressing through the heel the whole time. You can have that right foot flex, that right leg is active. See if you can feel any of the triangle in this pose. You extend the right arm out to the side, that might give you a little bit more of a triangle feeling. And then inhale back through center. high comes in the right hand, and let that leg come across the body. And we'll start first by using the left hand again to just encourage that hip away, encourage heart space. And then if you like, the shoulder likes, you can extend the left arm up to the side. Inhale back to center. Bend the left leg and you can need a little hug. And these breaths can be so nourishing and grounding from the body. It's a really nice way to message the lower back to relax, let go. Extend the left leg long when you're ready. Maybe another nice full body stretch. And then scan your body. Notice if there's any last minute movements or poses you'd like to take in preparation for Shavasana. And then as you allow your body to transition into deep rest, just notice if there's any last minute movements or repositioning that would allow your body to be even just 5% more comfortable. And then notice the ebb and flow of the breath. Maybe you're watching the diaphragm. As you breathe in, the diaphragm dropping down to the belly. As you breathe out, the diaphragm naturally rising up towards the ribs. Just watching this without exerting any sort of effort. Watching it like you might stare into the flames of a fire, or look up at the stars in the sky, or watch the ocean waves rolling in and rolling out. And if your mind wanders, reminding yourself this is only natural. Just invite it back to watching the diaphragm. Allow your next breath to be a little longer, a little deeper. Notice if you're ready to invite gentle movement, maybe wiggling fingers or toes. When you're ready, maybe larger movements, circling the ankles and the wrists, maybe letting the head go side to side. And then any other organic movements before taking yourself to your side and enjoying a moment of reflection and gratitude for your body, your practice, and anything else that arises. When you're ready, make your way up to seated. And take a moment and just notice how you feel in body and breath and brain. And if you'd like to join me in the chant of Om, take a deep breath in. Om. Namaste. Thank you for joining me.